Can you control your client? 11 key moments from Donald Trump's testimony at his civil fraud trial. The Boston Globe: Trump has denied any wrongdoing in the case. On the witness stand Monday, he delivered rambling testimony that drew repeated admonishments from New York Supreme Court Judge Arthur Engoron, who has already fined Trump $15,000 for twice violating a gag order. His testimony followed that of his sons, Eric and Donald Trump Jr., who testified last week that they never personally worked on the financial statements and blamed accountants for any errors. Trump's eldest daughter Ivanka is set to testify on Wednesday. Time equals 400 ms. greater than shortly after Trump took the stand. He was asked about the financial statements at the heart of the case and acknowledged that he played a role in putting the documents together. I would look at them, I would see them, and I would maybe on occasion have some suggestions, Trump said, CNN reported. The Washington Post reported that when Trump issued his financial statements, they came with disclaimers that others might arrive at different conclusions about the value of his assets and his net worth. Asked about the disclaimers on the witness stand, Trump said bankers did not pay a significant amount of attention to them, CNN reported. He reiterated that the disclaimers made clear that the financial statements should not be taken seriously. They were not really documents that the banks paid much attention to, he testified about the statements. They looked at the deal. Time equals 400 ms. greater than Trump received an early warning from Engoron during his courtroom testimony after he delivered a lengthy response about upcoming witnesses and took time to complain about prosecutors who have pursued cases against him, the Post reported. Mr. Wallace, lawyer for the Attorney General, is being very patient. I would like to move this along, Engoron said to Trump, according to CNN. Please just answer the question, no speeches. Despite the scolding, Trump went after Engoron just minutes later in response to a question about whether he was responsible for preparing his financial statements. I'm sure the judge will rule against me because he always rules against me, Trump said. That prompted Engoron to ask Trump attorney Christopher Kise if the remark was necessary. Kise defended Trump, and Engoron then turned directly to the former president. Please just answer the question. You can attack me, you can do whatever you want, but answer the question, he said, according to CNN. When Kevin Wallace of the Attorney General's office asked Trump about the value of his assets on the financial statements, Trump notably acknowledged that he thought his apartment, the size and worth of which has been understated before, was valued high. According to CNN, James alleges Trump claimed for years that his penthouse was 30,000 square feet when in reality, the Trump Tower triplex is less than 11,000 square feet. Trump also said he thought the values on his financial statements were at times high and low, CNN reported. He testified that Mar-a-Lago was very underestimated, and that 40 Wall Street was very underestimated for its tremendous value. Wallace later pointed to a 2017 financial statement that showed the value of the Trump Tower apartment dropping from $327 million in 2016 to approximately $117 million in 2017. Time equals 400 ms. greater than asked whether this change in valuation came under his direction, Trump said. Probably. I said I thought it was too high. I don't know what's too high anymore because I'm seeing things sold at numbers that are very high. He said. There could have been a mistake, before saying that such situations are why he adds disclaimer clauses in his financial statements. There's a disclaimer clause where you don't have to get sued by the Attorney General of New York, Trump said, according to CNN. Engoron chided Trump multiple times during his testimony, asking him to answer questions directly and avoid making political statements. The judge's impatience with Trump's meandering answers again became clear when he instructed Kise to have a talk with Trump, the Post reported. Mr. Kise, can you control your client? This is not a political rally, Engoron said. This is a courtroom. Kise argued that the former and again soon-to-be commander-in-chief understands the rules of the courtroom, but Engoron responded that he doesn't abide by them, the Post reported. After another short aside from Trump, Engoron told Kise if he could not control the former president, Trump would be dismissed from the stand, CNN reported. Mr. Kai's that was a simple yes or no question. We got another speech. I beseech you to control him if you can. If you can't I will, Engoron said. Time equals 400 ms, greater than before leaving for a break. Trump leaned into the microphone and called the trial very unfair. Trump was pressed by lawyers for the Attorney General's office about the values he has claimed for Mar-a-Lago, his Florida resort, and he testified that he believes it is worth between $1 billion and $1.5 billion, CNN reported. James's office has produced evidence that contradicts the Trump Organization's methods for reaching such a valuation, the Post reported. For example, the company ignored restrictions on developing the property that Trump had agreed to. The valuation of the property has been one of Trump's complaints about Engoron, CNN reported. In a pretrial ruling in September, Engoron found that Trump and his company routinely overvalued his assets, including Mar-a-Lago. Did I approve it on this? I don't know, Trump reportedly said when Wallace asked if he approved of valuing Mar-a-Lago as if it would be sold to an individual as a resident. Wallace also showed Trump a 2002 deed of development rights that demonstrated Trump gave away his rights to use the property as anything other than a social club. CNN reported. We'll show that in 2 weeks or 5 weeks or 9 weeks or whenever this thing goes, that its biggest value is using it as a club, Trump said during another aside. Engoron once more lost his patience with Trump during questioning about the valuation of his golf course in Aberdeen, Scotland. Asked if the description in his 2014 financial statement for the property was accurate. Trump began touting Aberdeen as the oil capital of Europe, CNN reported. Irrelevant. Answer the question, Engoron said. Trump continued to give a long-winded answer about the golf course, calling it one of the greatest pieces of land I've ever seen. Time equals 400 ms, greater than. If you want to let the witness ramble on, non-responsive, repeat himself, Engoron said to Wallace after noting he would follow his lead from then on. James has argued that unorthodox strategies were used to increase the value of the course, the Times reported. Trump derived the club from undeveloped land. It's sort of like a painting. You can do pretty much what you want to do. The land is there and you can do what you want to do, Trump testified, CNN reported. After being asked about the Mar-a-Lago property valuation, Trump directed criticism at both James and Engoron. In politically charged rhetoric, this is a political witch hunt and I think she should be ashamed of herself, Trump said of James. The Times reported that he pointed at her while speaking and glared at her. He also lambasted Engoron after the judge asked him to answer the questions, saying that he called me a fraud and he didn't know anything about me. Engoron suggested that Trump read my opinion perhaps, CNN reported. Done? Wallace reportedly asked Trump after the rant. Done, Trump answered. Trump said his financial statements would always hold up in court, except maybe in this court, because of the disclaimers. Wallace asked Trump if he was aware of any properties on the statements between 2011 and 2017 that may have been overstated, CNN reported. I don't know of any, but not that would have a material effect. Anything that would be a little bit off would be non-material, Trump said. Trump testified that everybody within the Trump Organization is responsible for identifying internal fraud, CNN reported. The former president also said that he believed Mazars USA, the accounting firm he and his business used, would identify any issues with financial statements. I would assume Mazars would come and recommend something and we'd amend that procedure, Trump reportedly said. While answering questions about the information he provided to banks, Trump testified that the Trump Organization paid the balance of a $45 million loan from Deutsche Bank for the company's Chicago hotel project last week, the Post reported. The company took out the loan in 2012. It appears to have been the only remaining outstanding loan from Deutsche, the Post reported. Time equals 400 ms, greater than. Are you aware that the Trump Chicago loan was paid off last week? Wallace asked Trump. The former president said it was paid off so recently because we have a lot of cash, the Post reported. Trump said Eric Trump, who now oversees the company, decided to pay it off. Time equals 400 ms, greater than. They got all their money back. This loan was paid in full. It was a very successful loan, he said. Trump focused much of his testimony on defending his status and reported wealth. He argued that his wealth was higher than what he reported in his statements because his brand value was not factored in by his accountants, the Post reported. I became president because of my brand, Trump said. I sell books at levels that are incredible because of my brand. He also gave an animated response when Wallace asked if he considers brand value part of his assets that cover the $2.5 billion, the net worth his loan agreements required that he maintain, CNN reported.